This is World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with your host, Karl Gruber. World Awakenings is a podcast dedicated to opening your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that the world's population is now, more than ever, awakening to all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening, and just how they play an all-important role in our daily life. So join Karl on this enlightening experience as he interviews metaphysical and spiritual experts to discuss, debate, and delve deeply into the hows and whys of this worldwide awakening.
World Awakenings is proud to be a founding member of the Ethereal Podcast and TV Network, and I'd like to let you know about one of my colleagues, Sherry Flake's podcast, The Stress Therapist.
Hey, beautiful people, it's time for some Stress Therapy, a podcast about how to meditate and get better at stress for people living in the real world. Finally, a place to park my 25 plus years of experience of working as a psychotherapist in the mental health field. And now your host, me, the Stress Therapist, Sherry Flake. Hey, beautiful people, what's happening? Okay, so have you ever had the experience where, like, everywhere you look, every person you talk to, every situation you're in, I mean, you're convinced that everyone is nuts. They're all just driving you absolutely crazy and that no one is getting it. No one understands.
Make sure to check out the Stress Therapist Podcast with Sherry Flake, a member of the Ethereal Podcast and TV Network. Click the link below in the show notes to listen to it today. Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome to episode number 150 of this podcast, this show called World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment. I'm your host, Karl Gruber. I've been doing this show since, June 2018. I've had some of the most amazing teachers, authors, speakers, experts, channels, metaphysical experts, teachers, on and on and on, and teachers of spirituality. Some of the best in the world, like Gary Renard and Fiona Williams and Corinne Zupko and Cindy Laura Renard, David Hoffmeister, Dr. John Mundy, and on and on and on. Well, I usually have a guest, and it's been quite a while since I've done a flying solo episode. And so here I am. A couple things first before we go ahead and dive into some of the topics I would like to discuss with you. Of course, I am the author of an ebook called The Runner to Jogger book. Now, I'm very proud of this. Like I always say, I may be a certified law of attraction life coach, but I am also a lifelong runner who's run 78 marathons. In 1996-97, I became the 9th man in the world to run 52 marathons in 52 weeks. So that was quite a year. I wrote a book about that, but we'll talk about that some other time. But this little ebook, The Runner to Jogger book, check it out. It is now only $1.99, and you can look at it right here on the screen, and there's a QR code. You can scan that QR code. That will take you right to the page where you can buy the ebook and download it for just $1.99. This will teach you how to go from walking or jogging to becoming a runner on a safe, consistent, and intelligent manner. So I encourage you to do that. As we know, excellent fitness is a result of exercise, and that usually correlates to a much better quality of life and perhaps a longer, healthier life. So why not do that today? Well, as I mentioned, I'm flying solo on this show, and so what I would like to do is dive into a couple topics. You know, the main mission of this show is, why now? More than ever are the people of the world awakening to all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening. And I believe after doing this show for, over 5 years now, that this message is more important than it has ever been at any time. We all, even though I don't watch TV hardly ever. I have a TV, it's not hooked up. But, I don't miss the things going on in the world. And as we all know, oh my gosh, the world is in a state of bitter clash, clashing individually, culturally, with wars, and on, financially, you name it. I mean, whatever there is, there's some kind of clash going on, some conflict. And when we look at that from a spiritual aspect, there's a lot to talk about. Now, if you may have seen my ad here, 20, if I can get the light to shine on, there we go. True Spirituality and the Law of Attraction. I wrote this book back in 2022 and published it. So there's a lot of key elements in this that I think we should discuss. First of all, what the heck is spirituality? What is it? How and why does it work? Well, spirituality, I always want to make this clear. Spirituality has nothing to do with organized religion. Spirituality is the realization of going back to your source. And right now, as I already discussed, how the world is just going bonkers with wars and constant fights, etc., etc. There's basically a almost complete amnesia that we come from source. And what is source? Well, I like to refer to all that is. And all that is exactly that. It's infinity. Everything that could possibly exist is where we came from. Now, why not? We say the word God. It doesn't mean it may be your culture or your religion. It could be Allah or Krishna or Muhammad or whatever. The great father. I'm obviously lacking for a lot of terms there, but if you finally get to the point, and I know I did a long time ago, and I still struggle with this. When we lose our identity of being with Source, that's when we become that proverbial ship on the water without a rudder. And we're just weaving around with no direction, nothing. And honestly, most of the people in the world live that way. You go to school, you get a degree, you get a job, you meet a partner, you get married, you have kids, you work at a job. Many people, as we know, work at a job they don't necessarily like. They actually may hate it. And they come home and you know the whole story. We go on through that and then you say, hey, dude, are you connected to your source? You go, what? Most people I talk to, some of my friends, as a matter of fact, when I mention the word spirituality and talk about connecting your source to all that is, their eyes just kind of glaze over again. What? Well, no, but didn't you see the Super Bowl last night? That was really okay. Well, I like to watch sports too, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to get you back. Put that rudder on that ship to direct you to what you should be doing as a life purpose. But again, spirituality is something we have lost. It's because my teaching, my understanding, my love of spirituality comes from my study of A Course in Miracles, which was published in, knocking everything around here. Yeah, you can see it's well worn. I've been reading A Course in Miracles since 2004. It was published in 1975, I believe, by the Foundation for Inner Peace. And it is probably, if not only, the one true, what we call non-dualistic spiritual teaching. And non-dualistic, that word means there is nothing else. There is only God, there is only all that is, and we are connected to this source as its child. Even the Course in Miracles uses only the word son. I have no issue with that because there's no gender, there's no gender, there's no sex, there's sex division in all that is. There only is being. So I don't care if you want to say sister or brother or whatever, I'm not good with all that stuff. But non-dualistic spirituality, again, means that anything else doesn't really exist. And I mentioned this in my last episode with my guest Susan Michelle. Right at the very beginning, even before the text begins in A Course in Miracles, it says, nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. And to me, I remember taking a logic course when I was a freshman at Ohio State University, and it was if, then, therefore. If nothing real can be threatened, then nothing unreal exists, therefore lies the peace of God. Oh my gosh. And it's kind of interesting when you contemplate this stuff. Maybe just sit and meditate over it. As I do that, I know I do, when I do that and I contemplate that, wow, there is really, really a sense of peace that settles over me. There's nothing else other than all that is, and all that is unconditional love. In the world of true spirituality, like I write in my book, our source, our God, our Father, however, again, you want to put it, is unconditionally loving. There is no judgment. Our Father, our God, cannot or can never be angry at us. Now, but that's not the way that organized religion prolificates that. They talk about, a God that if you do something to make him mad and you sin, then you're going to be judged and you're going to be punished. This is the way the dualistic world operates, where in our dualistic world, there's, good and bad and light and dark. And of course, what I love in A Course in Miracles, it says the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is fear. And if you can get past this, and I'm not saying that's easy, that is our world that we live in, this 3D dualistic world of conflict and judgment and attack. If you can get past that and maybe be open a little bit, open your heart, open your mind to understand these principles of non-dualistic spirituality, I'm telling you, you will find a peace that you never have felt before, if this is the first time you're doing this. And this is a key way to create a key mode of operation to getting back to that sense of peace and feeling of unity and oneness, and saying, you can really walk up to a stranger and say, I love you, and mean it. Be it, they might run the other way. I mean, that's in this new non-dualistic world. But you can walk up to a stranger and say, I love you, and mean it, because there is no separation in the world. And one of the key ideas of how this world came about was that we are the Son of God, the child of God, who fell asleep into a deep dream, as A Course in Miracles calls it, a tiny mad idea. And we fell asleep into this dream, and we haven't awakened yet from this nightmare where we found ourselves separated from God, and that we had created our body and created ourselves to replace God. And this is why there's this deep, deep sense of guilt, which is the driving factor for so much of the conflicts in your own life, in the world. This deep sense of guilt. Oh my gosh, I separated from God, and now he wants to kill me. And you can have dreams of nightmares of, oh my gosh, I'm a murderer and I'm going to be found out, that type of thing. And imagine that's probably a more prevalent dream than most people realize. But even this sense, deep sense of guilt, it's buried deeply after eons of history of being stuck in a body, thinking that we are separate from all that is. And so it's been buried so deeply, many of us don't even realize. Actually, the vast majority of the world don't even realize that this is a driving factor in the conflict of the world. So I appreciate you being here with me on World Awakenings for this little important chat. And another topic that I know many of my viewers and listeners are very familiar with me is healing. Now, I have been for a couple years a facilitator, the administrator of a Facebook page called The Power of Eight. And that is based on author, journalist, scientific researcher Lynn McTaggart's book that she published a few years ago called The Power of Eight, where 8 or more people come together either live in concert or virtually. And my group, of course, does this exclusively virtually on Zoom or whatever video format you want to use. And the postulation here is that when people come together, and sometimes it doesn't even have to be 8, it could be just 2 of you, but there's everything being energy. And this goes back to the unity of all that is. And science, quantum physics, has shown that everything is energy. I talk about this in the law of attraction. That is one of the key principles, if not the key principle of the law of attraction, is understanding that everything is energy. And so when people come together to focus their healing intentions, thoughts, and prayers and love on a person, place, or thing, a situation, there's great power. The other day, I did a Power of Eight healing session for an individual, for a woman in Sydney, Australia, while I live in the Midwest in the United States. We had guests on there also from the Netherlands, from Peru, Portugal, England, Australia, and most of the rest of us were from the United States. Those tens of thousands of miles between us all doesn't matter, because everything being energy, we are in true reality connected at that time together as one unit. And knowing the true power of our mind that is connected to the source of all that is, there is great power. And in this case, the power of healing. Well, not only has Lynn McTaggart, with her hundreds, if not thousands of test Power of Eight healing groups that she has organized, seen incredible miracles in healings done for individuals, but also she has done, and so has my group, done healing situations for individual conflicts or disasters in the world. I know we did one quite a number of months back there was a big destructive earthquake, I believe in Turkey and Jordan, I think, and we did that. We did a healing for the country of Austria during the crazy demic. And also we did a healing, this was a couple years ago, for South Africa. There was Shell Oil had come in to do some oil testing, some sound testing in the Transkei, which is these beautiful, pristine waters off the south coast of Africa, where there's an incredible array of beautiful marine wildlife living there that depend on the ecosystem to stay in balance. And Shell Oil came in there with a sonic testing that they would shoot through thousands of feet of water to see if there were oil reserves, and they could come in and screw it all up and drill for oil. Well, I had one of my members from South Africa approach me and say, well, let's do a healing for this and see if we can heal a Transkei and have Shell Oil get out of there and not do any oil drilling. Well, sure enough, my group did a simultaneous Power of Eight healing with their Power of Eight group. We weren't on the same video call, but we did it at the same time. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, 2 weeks after we did that, the High Court in South Africa did a mandate that Shell Oil had to leave the Transkei, that they would not let it soil the beautiful waters off the south coast of South Africa. So that's just one tiny example. But again, why does healing work when we do this? Everything is energy. We come together, we focus. What we do is we will sit there for 10 minutes and we have some meditative music, the same music Lynn McTaggart uses, called Choku Rei. And here I am with people from around the world on one call. No more is there any division, no more separation in miles as we perceive it in this world. We are here together and we focus on one person, place, thing, etc., and create a healing. And within my group, we've had a number of healings. I remember my co-administrator, Eleni Yambulis, did a healing for a young man who was in a coma. And the very next day, bam, he got out of it and he was walking around laughing and talking with his family. So again, these are just little examples. But healing, we of course, we all go, well, gosh, I got a sinus infection, or what's this weird thing on my arm? We go to the doctor. State of medicine in the world has been pretty crazy, especially with all the pharmaceutical wildness that's been going on. And the thing about modern medicine, it always looks at the effect and not the source of what the malady may be. And again, this goes back to an individual, could be a conflict even. But that is the way that traditional healing looks. They try to fix the effect without going back to the source and taking care of that so that it never happens again. And as we know now, literally every sickness, disease, anything like that, even a headache, it comes from our thoughts. Our thoughts are the all-powerful source of everything. This is where and how we created the world, with our thoughts. And we, again, in this state that we perceive ourselves being in, we believe we're separate from God. And so we have all kinds of stresses and feelings of guilt and judgment. That is another thing about that's very key. That is one of the big things that causes illnesses and even injuries and accidents, is judgment and holding grudges. And let me grab my big blue book here, grievances. Yeah. So, for instance, lesson 69 of Course in Miracles that I studied today, my grievances hide the light of the world in me. And when you think of grievances or judgments or grudges, it goes back to energy. When you're in that state of holding a grievance or a judgment or a grudge or something like that, an attack thought, that drops the vibration of your being down to a very low vibrating area. And that's where things get out of alignment. When you're vibrating in a negative, disempowering, dark place, well then, since we create our own reality, that you create that within your body or the situation you're in by vibrating in a negative, low place. So you have to learn how to release these grievances that you have, or a judgment, a grudge, whatever. I know many of the people that I have had on my Power of Eight who come to us for healing. Upon further discussion with them, we find out that there are certain situations or people in their life that they refuse to forgive. And that's the source of their illness. Let's say, and I've had, a couple ladies who, also guys who were mistreated by their father or their mother, and sexually, physically, that type of thing. And that's within this 3D realm of this dualistic world. That is something that's pretty hard to forgive. And again, that's forgiveness as a world practice is based on retribution. I forgive you, but you still hold it in your heart, somewhere in your mind, deep in your subconscious. You really did something bad to me. And if nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists, herein lies a peace of God. Well, in the way we're talking about, you really are holding it and thinking it is real and causing you these problems when it's all stemming from your mind and your heart. So it is possible to drop these grievances and these judgments and release them into the hands of your source of God, and realize that it's not mine to deal with. You take care of this for me, Father. And what that happens when you do that, it's like chains have been dropped off of your shoulders, off of your mind, like the handcuffs around your hands that kept you chained to the wall have been taken off, and you're free. We walk with a lighter step, and your mind is so light. You can do this. You really can. But I do want you to contemplate these things. I just had this opportunity, this thought to come on this episode of my show and talk about these lovely things. It is possible. I want you to understand the world really is awakening to all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening. There are so many things way beyond what we can perceive with our eyes, here within a spectrum of a light that's available to our eyes. I have had a number of guests on, and recently I've watched incredible number of people who've had near-death experiences, and they all go into the light and immediately feel this sense of unity, because that nightmare that they were living has dropped away, and they're back home realizing, wow, this is what's real. Nothing real can be threatened. And they find that out. And in the NDE cases, they are given the choice to come back, and they do, but they carry this understanding back with them into this world. And we never really used to hear these things, but now with the availability of the internet and YouTube, and instantaneously, that word is getting out there to more and more people in the world. So I want to thank you for listening to me talk about this. Contemplate things of what true spirituality is. Contemplate on how to heal and what healing really is, and that you can do it. Contemplate the true power of your mind as an individual. Join, and especially when you join your individual mind with other minds together, and the power is just amped up in the ability to heal and change positively things. Let go of those negative thoughts, those dark, disempowering, grievous thoughts, and raise your energy, your personal energy, to higher place of love, truth, unconditional love, non-judgment, and your health will reflect it. You will feel more peaceful. You will feel healthier. And it's just amazing. It really, really does work. These are things that you can do. If you feel like you're completely helpless in the world as you watch all of the shootings and the wars and people punching and fighting each other on Twitter, X, whatever it is, or TikTok, you name it, any social media, you can release that and say, well, that was kind of entertaining to watch, but I don't like it. It's not real. It's not what I want, and I am going to change that, not only in my life. And as you change, the world around you changes. This is one of the key things. If you want to change the world that you see, change yourself first, and then the world will change. I love you so much. I appreciate it. I am Karl Gruber, the host of this podcast, World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment. I am a certified law of attraction life coach. You can go to my website, KarlGruberLifeCoach.com, and Karl is spelled with a K, KarlGruber, lifecoach.com. check it out. And if you want to contact me and if you need some help and do a little session with me, I'm more than willing to be here for you. So thank you. Namaste, my friends. I love you.
This has been another episode of World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with host Karl Gruber, a certified law of attraction life coach. We welcome you to tune in to each and every episode of World Awakenings as we open your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that the world's population is now, more than ever, awakening to the truth of all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening, and just how much they play an all-important role in our moment-to-moment daily life. Much love and light to you, my friend, and thank you for tuning into World Awakenings.